All right, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or evening, depending on where you might be. Welcome to our Linworks 101 webinar. We're going to give everybody about 1 more minute to join in for those who are still signing in right now. My name is Paul. I'll be your host for today's session. And just a couple of reminders. I'll go over a couple things just before we jump into our topic today. But first off, the topic will be listings management in today's 101 session. But I will be providing a very brief overview of the Linworks platform as well, just to highlight a few areas, a few of the core functions and features in Linworks, but we'll mainly be diving into the details regarding how to best use the listings management feature in Linworks. Also, this session is being recorded, so it will be available after today for anyone who would like to review the content. You'll be able to do that as well. A few things I want to just quickly review before we jump in, just regarding the On24 webinar interface that's on your screen. I want to first point out the resource list on the bottom corner. This will provide some additional information about Linworks, including some case studies. And there are also a couple of additional Linworks 101 webinars there as well, including one from, my manager, Matt Heitzer. That's going to provide kind of an overview of the entire platform and a lot of the features and functionalities in there. And you'll also find a really great one on inventory management by my teammate, Vince. Both of these are really great. They contain some very useful information. So if you are interested in these topics, I'd highly recommend viewing those as well. You're also going to see a slide deck. We'll be using that to start our presentation and just to provide a short intro before jumping into the live demo. And then you'll see me. Hello. Where I'm at is also where I'll be showing the live demo. And then there's also a Q&A box down below. So if you want to drop us a question, please do. We'll answer as many of these on the webinar as possible. But if we aren't able to, don't worry, we will follow up with you after the presentation and provide answers to any remaining questions. Any of these windows, they can be minimized if you like, but just keep in mind we will be switching back and forth. So if you do minimize it, just remember you might have to bring that back up. Anyway, with that being said, let's go ahead and we will jump into our slide presentation here. Okay, hang on real quick. Having a few difficulties with my slides. Sorry about the technical difficulties. It's probably my Wi-Fi connection. Perfect. So just about what we're going to be covering today, we're going to start with a short introduction, and then we're going to talk a little bit about who Linworks is, what we are, kind of what drives us and what we do. We'll also get into, obviously, the product listing management topic, and all that will kind of come together at the end in some details we can talk about how all this will allow you to kind of grow and automate and be more in control of your e-commerce operations. And then we should have plenty of time for some Q&A at the end as well. So a little bit about me. My name is Paul Atrat. I live in Pflugerville, Texas. Yeah, that's actually a real city name. It's located right next to Austin, Texas. This is also where our U.S. headquarters is located in Austin. And I've worked in SaaS for, I'd say, about 14 years total, but 12 of those as a sales engineer. I'm definitely newer to the Linworks family, but so far it's been really great. It's an amazing experience working here. My team is awesome. Everyone I've worked with is great. It's been a blast, having a lot of fun. But enough about me. Let's actually get into, a little bit more about Linworks. So, what drives us at Linworks? What do we do? If you're not familiar with us, At Linworks, we are basically enabling businesses to manage things like multi-channel inventory, multi-channel orders, fulfillment, and of course, listings from one central platform. We're going to provide deep insights across those sales channels and operations to really help improve those operations. We want you to be successful. So, by equipping, different brands and retailers to essentially conduct commerce wherever their customers are, we're empowering those businesses to drive growth and boost their brand success. We are also Amazon and eBay's largest European commerce partner. At Linworks, we process something about in the range of 8 billion in GMV each year globally. And we're very lucky to have some of the world's biggest brands. So product listings management. We understand a lot of today's challenges with this, including things like spending too much time on manual tasks, managing listings across multiple channels, multiple marketplaces. Poor management of these things can cause, overselling, underselling. That's going to lead to poor customer experiences. That's going to lead to poor reviews. Nobody wants that. So, we want to help streamline and take out those manual processes and get rid of those human errors, right? So to do this, we're going to streamline and automate these processes for better efficiency. This is going to prevent that over and underselling. It's going to allow you to efficiently scale your operations and grow your brand. And that also frees up time to focus on those customer needs, right? You're not having to focus on all those manual tasks. It frees you up for that. And you'll hear me preach this last one a lot, but access to information from one central location, right? Keep everything organized under one platform so that you're not having to go into different places and log in to manage all that. But with that being said, let's go ahead and see that in action here. So give me one moment and I'm going to share out my screen. First, I wanted to go into a couple details. Like I'd mentioned, I want to do just a brief overview of Linworks really fast, just to point out a few of the core features. And one of those is the channel integrations. We can see here, and this is kind of where everything starts, right? So I have a couple Amazon stores for UK and US, my eBay, and a couple Shopify stores. We make it very, very simple to add new channel integrations. If I click add new, again, we have over 70 different channels. So it's really easy to start growing and expanding your business and reaching out to new customers. So that's one aspect I wanted to show you. The next one is our order management. So Linworks can manage essentially the life cycle of all orders across all your different marketplaces. So regardless of which channel those are originating from, they're all going to come into one place under one platform, and again, centralize that so that you can come in here easily, select your orders, create pick lists, create shipping labels, and just quickly fulfill these orders. And the last thing I will jump into very quickly are our shipping integrations. So Linworks provides the ability to integrate directly into many of really all the global shipping partners that you might need. So all those shipping services with your account details can be entered here. The nice thing is you can also generate shipper-specific labels. And then, of course, any of the dispatch notifications would go back up through the channel and onto your customers. So again, just centralizing the operations under one platform. And that's it. I just kind of wanted to highlight those few core features of Linworks before we jump into the listings management details. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the listings information. So here we can see my inventory screen. Essentially, this is also serving as my listing screens for all my products here. We can see a few of those details here. Oops, sorry about that. So SKUs, titles, and some of that's going to be inventory information that we now see on the right. But I'm going to go ahead and open up one of these files here. And now we'll take a little bit deeper view here. So going into the general tab, some of these details may be self-explanatory, but again, I'm going to review all these details that go into a listing, and we'll have a little bit of information on each. So the first is obviously the item number. The item number we see on screen is essentially your Linworks SKU number and what will identify the item in Linworks. Okay, now this item number can be it can be the same as what you have on the channel, or it can be different. In my case, I don't really want to put the number of the item that I'm using on the channel because it's going to be more difficult for me to recognize. So as a best practice, I have a little bit more of a short description in here that I use as my Linworks Skew, and then I can link the actual product ID that I'm using on the channel to this Skew, and we'll talk about that a little bit later there. The item title, pretty self-explanatory. It's just going to be the title of the item on that page. You'll see a few other details here like barcode number. Probably won't necessarily need that for listings, but you can obviously enter the barcode number. Your retail price is going to be obviously what you are selling the product for. And then there is the ability to specify if this item will be taxed or not. Categories are just what they sound like, right? So you're grouping items under specific categories. So in this case, all the stuff I have are sort of clothing and apparel in my site, but I might have electronics or health and beauty supplies or any number of different things that I could have in here where I'd have different categories there. But all those can be linked at the SKU level. The batch item I won't go into much. It's really more of an inventory function, but if you did have inventory which needed to be prioritized by, say, a sell-by date or had expiration dates, those functions do exist in Linworks, and so you can set items up to be tracked in that way. The metadata is basically just going to be the description that will be seen on the product page. Now, not all channels are sort of the same with their product requirements. So really a best practice. So you might have certain channels like eBay that might have fewer characters that are allowed in a description compared to something like Amazon, right? So really when it comes down to that is you'd probably want to configure these to fit, you know, if eBay had the shortest descriptions allowed, you're probably going to want to do that for the eBay channel and just mirror that for everything else. Right? Instead of having to manage all the different types of things for different channels, figure out what has the shortest number of characters that's allowed, optimize the details on the SKU file for that, and then you won't have to worry about any errors getting pushed back when you try to do listings or if descriptions are too long and things of that nature. So just a little bit of advice on that aspect of it. But that's just some general information. We'll take a look also at the images here as well. Looks like we had a couple questions here come in, and I'll get to those in just a quick moment once I review this here. But the images are just what it sounds like, right? So you have product images tied to a particular SKU. Now, when it comes to handling the images, Linworks can host your images as well. So if you need us to host those images, that's fine. If you already have those images hosted elsewhere, that is also fine. Essentially, all we're going to do is use the URL of that image. We're going to link that to the product in Linworks so that when you push the product out to the page, it will push out whatever images are linked to that particular page there, essentially. And there are some questions about parent listings and variations and building those listings. We will actually take a look at that here momentarily. So I will actually get to that in just a minute there. And then there's some things about deleting listings and extract inventory when there are errors in the template. And so we'll talk about errors as well. I will actually get to all those topics as well. So give me a couple moments. It'll take me a few minutes to get there, but hopefully I should be able to cover those topics here partially on this screen here. So moving on from images, one of the other things I'll go into next is our listing descriptions. So now, one of the really nice things in Linworks is that you are able to store the channel-specific information, right? So that's going to include things like you see here, channel-specific prices. I have titles. I have channel-specific descriptions. So if you do have variations of these attributes for each channel, perhaps some descriptions work better, you know, on other channels than other ones. All of those channel-specific variations on how the product will need to be listed for those particular fields are set up here. Now, another thing I could do here if I wanted to is, let's say I wanted to take this price for my Amazon UK and this is going to be on sale. I could actually come in here and say, yeah, well, this is going to be for my Amazon store, my UK one specifically. We have a sub source here of sale, and I'm going to knock this price down to, $19.99. What that'll do is when I now relist that, that'll actually slash out the price, just like you've seen on probably Amazon before, and list the new price there, the sale price. So it'll work the same way for the titles and the descriptions as well. Now, once I have all these details set up and I list this again, it'll actually just update those information like I said. But now, if we are using a different SKU, like we talked about here, how does it link that? So part of that is the channel SKU. So the channel SKU is the ID number of the item in the marketplace, right? So you can have different channel SKUs for one single item across different marketplaces and still be able to obviously link all of that back into Linworks. So the channel SKU is, they did basically just be listed here. So if I wanted to add one, again, I click add new, I just specify the SKU and I specify the channel, and it's done. So very, very simple in terms of adding that channel SKU. And again, all this is controlled under, like I'm saying, one platform here. Now, to get to, I think one of the questions in terms of a lot of the variations, which kind of brings me to my next topic, which is our extended properties. So if we think about all those different variations that a product would have, right? Some might have, different colors, different sizes, different patterns, whatever it might be. If we think about that and then multiply that by all the products we're selling, this can be a lot of information to manage, right? So it can cause a lot of stress trying to manage this across all those websites and marketplaces. So this is where the Linworks extended properties come into play. Here we can see a few details like the extended property name. That's just the actual property itself that I will be mapping to. And then the value for that, that's going to be the value that gets filled in for that property. So in this case, the name, if I double click on these are all the different properties that I have in my system. Some might be for Amazon, some might be for eBay, some might be for my listings on Shopify. So not all of these are going to go to every channel, but I am going to list every variation of a particular item at the SKU level, regardless of which channel it goes to, right? So everything from, washing instructions to colors and patterns and sizes and all that. So if we do need to add one, simply click add new. And again, it'll open up an option down here. I can go in and either type in a new value for this, or as I mentioned, I can choose one of my existing values for that and then type in what it will actually post to that listing. Attribute is the main type you'd be using. There are a few others in here, most of which won't have too much relevance for today's, but like channel, compatibility, and condition, I believe those are all for eBay. Compatibility might also be or condition might also be used for BigCommerce. One thing I will actually point out in here, though, is the fulfillment SKU. So while most that is probably an inventory function, when you are setting up an inventory item, a fulfillment SKU is basically used when a drop shipper or say a fulfillment center, they use a different SKU to identify the same product. So this will get used when submitting orders to those locations or getting stock level updates from those fulfillment centers. But that's kind of where we would maintain all of the details for the extended properties. Now, I will go into some other things as well on how those get mapped out to the channels. But again, the idea of what I'm talking about here is essentially just keeping track of all those details at the SKU level. It doesn't matter what variation, it doesn't matter what channel. This provides a very simple way of tracking all of those details in one place and just makes things extremely easy and efficient and organized. So composite SKUs. We'll take a quick look at the composite SKUs. What is a composite SKU, right? So a composite SKU in Linworks just represents basically several individual items that are going to be sold together in a package or a bundle. It can be different items, or it can be a pack of the same item. So maybe it's t-shirts and they're just different variations. One's red, one's blue, one's yellow, or something like that. So if you do sell those bundles that include those types of SKUs, or do you sell those SKUs that have those types of bundles, those can all be managed here. Essentially, the general tab would just be a parent SKU that you determine, and then the composition of that SKU would be determined by the items that it's made up of. So in this case here, if I wanted to add items, I would simply go in, click the little search icon, and then I can add my bundle together there. And I can specify the quantities on this as well. So that's pretty much it. I mean, fairly simple in terms of setting them up. So now whenever an order came in for that parent SKU, it would specify, hey, you need to pull one of the gray shirts and the black shirts and send that out. And the final thing on this particular form that we will look at is actually going to be the product identifiers. So the product identifier contains, well, it can contain several different IDs for this one particular item. So this will get used again when creating listings from Linworks. And if you need to list specific IDs, we can see here, I have my product identifiers. Those are the actual IDs themselves. And then the identifier type, right? So what type of ID it is. And again, if I click in here, I can see all the different types that I currently have available in my demo site here that I can choose from. So, we can kind of see, at least hopefully, that, how flexible, the system is when it comes to the listings of the SKU and the flexibility of setting up individual properties for specific channels with just one central platform, right? Again, streamlining the process. I don't have to go to eBay and set stuff up, then Amazon, and then my, Shopify, and so on and so forth. I do it all, again, under one platform here. Now, you may have seen a few other tabs on this screen here. To be honest, most of those aren't going to be relative for today's discussion. But if you do have questions, again, I would say follow up with us, let us know. And then, we'll make sure we get you the details. If we don't get them on the webinar, we'll get them after the webinar. And then one last thing I will point out with regards to the listings. One question we do get from time to time is if we support HTML template descriptions. I'll just say the short answer is yes. What we basically do is we will use the extended properties to essentially fill in the content pieces of the HTML template. Unfortunately, I don't have one to show you as an example, but just keep in mind that if you are using HTML template descriptions, this will be supported in Linworks. So let's say now that I've actually set up all my SKUs. I've loaded those all into Linworks. I have all the details and extended properties set up. Now, how do I get those pushed out and link specific properties to specific channels? And this is where our configurators come into play. So here we can see I have a list of configurators in my system. So what is a configurator? Well, a configurator basically is what is going to tell Linworks of all the details and the extended properties that we've set up for a particular SKU, which of those go to each particular channel, and where do those attributes need to be mapped for each of those channels. And in this case, each channel is going to have its own integrators, as you kind of saw in my configurators list there. And this is what's going to essentially allow me to sort of create, I'll say, bulk or group items in bulk to create similar groups of items. I can group it in bulk, basically, or I can list in bulk, really, right? So let's take a look at how this looks here. So I have two different configurators for my Amazon, right? I have my Amazon US, I have my Amazon UK, because I sell on both. I see the name of the configurator I'm working with. I know the category, which is clothing, but I specifically know these are for my shirts that I'm going to be listing. If I had other things, if I click on this again, if I had hats or pants or shoes or dresses or whatever it was I was selling, again, I would have configurator subtypes set up just for that. I'll go ahead and click on attributes because this is kind of where I wanted to lead to here. So here we can see the attributes on this configurator. Now the names are just that. It's the name which we are, it's the name of the detail on, say, Amazon site in this case here. So for brand, my extended property is going to be brand. And so it's going to take the property I've specified for that and use that as the listing. So in this case here, I have several different ones, right? Brand, description, manufacturer, size, pattern, all these different attributes here. Now, if I was selling different products or other products, we can also see down here I have additional attributes that I'm not using. So if I was selling electronics, for example, then I would have other things like voltage or amperage or power, things like that. So in this case here, all the details are available. They would just be set up with each individual configurator. And it's easy to add. You would just click the plus buttons to add them in, basically. That's it. So that's pretty much what a configurator is and what it does. So it takes specific properties from a Skew file and says, we're going to map these to a particular channel. So in this case, let's kind of go through the motions of that we've done that, right? So we've got all our listings here in Linworks, and we've defined all the details at the Skew level. We got those extended properties. We got the channel skews, titles, descriptions, and so on. And now we have all the configurators set up as well. So now we're at the point where we can update or we can add new listings to our channels. So to do this, I will actually go back into my inventory screen here. And I actually have a specific view that I've set up for this, which is my listings view. And in this case, if I actually scroll over to the right, you're going to see why I call this my listings view. It's because I have all of the channels where I sell my products basically showing here. So in this case, if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to list out to my Amazon US store, I can select either one or multiple or all my products that I have here. At that point, I simply just right click. I go to create listing on Amazon, and then I just choose my configurator. Because it's the Amazon US store, I've already specified that. It already knows which configurator I'm using. I'm not using my UK one. I chose this one. And in this case here, it's going to show me some details, right? So I know I'm creating a listing. I know it's not currently listed right now. So this is going to create a new listing. And then I have other details that are going to get pushed out with it. So the SKU, the product ID, the title, the price that I'm going to sell it for. All of our attributes are going to be mapped to these particular fields right here so we can see what these are. And once I have confirmed everything, it's as simple as essentially just listing out those products and processing that. So once I process that, that is now going to go through that action of actually pushing that out to Amazon. Now, I was actually trying to get something set up where I had a live environment and I could actually push this out and show you the listing. Unfortunately, that just wasn't possible due to this being a demo environment. So my apologies on that. But let's say that we just ran through the process, we submitted our listings, and now what happens if there are errors? And I believe this was a question that I saw pop up as in the chat. So, what happens if there are errors? Where do those errors go? Do they come back? Is there a way to correct them? How do I know what I'm doing? So from there, yes, absolutely. Those errors are going to get pushed back through to Linworks through the API. So in this case, if it was Amazon, we'd be getting those errors. And to see them, it's very simple. I can actually go into this case, into my inventory screen in this case. And if for Amazon, I would just come up here and say, I want to see the ones that only have errors. Now, I don't have any with errors in my system, so this would just be a blank screen for me. But if I was to have errors, this is actually going to show me those errors. I'll be able to, understand what is wrong, go and correct the issue. And once I've done that, I can relist the product. So now my customers can submit orders there, basically. Now we do, so that's kind of the idea on listing. Now, I will say sometimes we do get the question of, can Linworks list to every channel with the click of a button? The short answer to that is no. The reason is because we have it set up to list at the channel level, meaning that it's one channel at a time. And the reason we kind of do things like that is because it really allows us to offer the flexibility to list across multiple channels, which is essentially why we're doing that. But ultimately, it's a better practice. It's a more consistent way of pushing out your listings as well. And that's kind of it for sort of the live demo portion today on the listings management side. So let me quickly transition back to my slide deck. Perfect. So hopefully everyone can see my slide deck here again. So, all in all, at Linworks, we see that there's really a huge opportunity for you guys to grow your business online, right? We all know e-commerce, the whole e-commerce space is just growing exponentially, especially over the last few years with the pandemic. And now with so many people working from home, I know personally, my online shopping has increased probably threefold, and it was already ridiculous. So it's insane now. We know growing can be very, very difficult until we fix those, inefficiencies and all those manual processes that are really slowing down operations, right? And Linworks can help with that, right? We can provide tools such as our rules engine that would help you essentially automate your commerce operations with, programmatic rules. You're going to be able to connect, your commerce technologies to Linworks. It's going to put you in control of those operations. Again, connecting all those things. Think of it as like a bicycle wheel. Linworks sits as the hub. We're the very center, and all the spokes that go out are all those connections to your marketplaces and platforms and shipping integrations and all that. So again, centralizing all that is key to maintaining and managing that data successfully. And I can't preach that enough, really. That's going to save you so much time and so much stress when dealing with all these things, from listings and inventory to ordering and shipping, really. But ultimately, that's pretty much it when I talk about sort of the listings management side. Now, obviously, we have some time for questions. I'm sure there probably will be some more questions in the chat. So if there is anything, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer some questions here for you guys. Okay, it looks like there was a question about deleting eBay listings. I think we're getting that answered right now. It wouldn't delete the SKU from inventory, I don't think, but it wouldn't list it out. So if there was an error, it's not going to necessarily delete the SKU per se from the listing, but it wouldn't push it out to the listing. So if there was an error that got kicked back, the listing just wouldn't be there. Or it would take it offline, for example, if it wasn't available until it got pushed back out. But I believe my coworker is providing a detailed answer on that. So unable to get listings on Amazon channels due to them wanting country of origin, which you've added in the configs, but it will not accept all the countries. That's actually a great question. I'm not sure on why it wouldn't accept it if it's there, or that it wouldn't accept all countries. I can actually look into that a little bit more, because I'm honestly, that's a great question. Generally speaking, if the country of origin is there, it should fix the issue, but there might be something more to it. So I will look into that one a little bit more. And you customizable products on eBay. So are these products where the customizable products, Mark asked a question, is this where they're going in and saying, I want this in red and it needs to be this size? Are there options that they're choosing when they are purchasing the product that you're essentially putting together in the end? Or is it a little different than that? I guess that would be my question back, because generally that's fine if there's a bunch of different config options on the page. Maybe it's different, you know, it's like a necklace and it's a different materials, or they're different lengths and different, you know, chain links and things like that. Like that kind of stuff should be fine, but I'm not sure if I fully understand the question. Engraving requirements. We should, you know, I think we can handle at least what needs to be engraved and pick that up with the order. I'll double check that for you. But the engraving itself, I believe is fine in terms of they're just saying, hey, this is what I want engraved on it. I believe that would come over as a note with the order itself, but I'll confirm that. And yeah, it does look like we can add that in the notes in the order. So we can at least pass along what the engravement should be. And then of course, once you get the order, it'll be in the notes. Yeah, so if you do, so Flavia asking about when products with variations, you only right now have size and color to choose from. How can you add pattern or type as a variation? So you can actually just click on add and then basically add that in as a new one. So if it doesn't exist in the dropdown, you can click add, type pattern, and then just basically enter that pattern there. And then in the configurator, we would specify, okay, this particular extended property is going to fill in this field on you know, whatever channel it is that you're using for that, basically. So it might not be in there initially, but you could add it and type it in there. And then once it is in there, it'll actually be in there for you to choose again. Emma, I know you looks like you were having some problems. You've created a configurator for eBay, but you're struggling with the Amazon one. If we use extract inventory, would this build a configurator too? No, I don't believe that's going to build the configurator. The configurator would have to be, you know, let me check on that. I believe it has to be sort of manually specified or built, but I could be mistaken on that. So I'll double check, Emma. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, so Peter Peter Freeman. So in terms of integration, as well as integrating our systems with that of our customers, is there also some automation with the system of the carrier as well? So tracking details, timing, captured and fed back to the customer automatically. Yeah, I mean, there is some automation with that in terms of, say, tracking details that are captured. I mean, all of those generally are going to be fed back through to the channel anyways. So, and in your case, you're looking at a very particular carrier. So I'd have to investigate that a little further with that. So I'd have to double check, but I will do my best to find that out. And again, we might not have all the answers here. Some of these are very specific things that you guys are having to deal with, and so I might have to just do a little bit of research on some of these in order to get the details that you need. You're welcome, Flavia. Awesome. Some really, really great questions. And so I'm gonna document a lot of, well, we'll have all these documented. I'm gonna go through and try to figure out all these details. We'll basically follow up with you on these. Some of these are very specific to some things that some of you have going on. So there could be more to it than just a general issue. So I will definitely do my best to get these answered here this week and get these details out to you. If there's any other questions as well, let me know. It looks like we've got a few of them answered. I'd like to thank my coworker Donnie here for jumping in and helping out with some of these here. So what we'll do, we're going to start wrapping up in just a couple minutes here. I did see one, so from Chris, bulk listing in Linworks, how to do it properly. So the bulk listings are really based on the configurators. So in this case here, I only have a couple configurators set up, but the idea is I'm grouping these by these particular categories, right? And then from there, I can bulk list out, say, all my shirts, all my pants, all my shoes, that type of stuff there. I'm not sure if that's where you were kind of going with that question, but essentially it's the Linworks configurator, which is tied into those SKUs that are associated with, say, these particular categories and subtypes. So with those being specified on the SKU and then the configurators being built around that, it's going to group those items and basically list those particular items in bulk. They're sort of closely related items. I don't know if that answered the question. If not, just let me know what I missed or what I misunderstood, and we'll get you some other answers as well. I guess I'm going to start wrapping it up here. I know there's still a few questions out there that are outstanding. We will get you answers for all of those questions. So my apologies if we didn't get that to you today. And also my apologies for the beginning of the webinar, which was a little chaotic. For some reason, my On24 interface was froze up and it wasn't working properly. So thank you all for joining me though today. I really, really appreciate it. We're going to be having more of these. So please, stay tuned, keep your ears out, listening for these. We'll be advertising these as well as we come up with new topics. But thank you very, very much for hanging with me here today, guys. I really appreciate it.